lockdown. Welcome to this week's MFB News. I hope everybody is very, very well. What's that sunshine I saw yesterday? In fact, have you seen the weather forecast? I know I'm obsessed with this, sorry. I should make this like a weather video rather than a mortgage video. But the weather is actually looking really good for the next couple of weeks. So yes, spring is on its way, everybody. Now, in terms of what we're going to cover off this week, it's going to be a super quick episode because there just isn't that much news this week. And I don't believe in giving you news for news sake. But the things that you are going to want to know about is what's been happening with swap rates, lender pricing changes, a new piece of lending criteria, which is fairly nichey but fairly interesting nonetheless, which we're just going to talk about for a few moments. And then we're going to go through the latest results from the Mortgage Works' Buy-to-Let Barometer. I've put my teeth in, having enough coffee at this morning, where they've basically gone to the market and asked landlords what their plans are, how they're feeling about the future. So we're going to just go through that so you can see how your landlord peers are feeling at the moment. Okie dokie, swap rates. And actually, things are a bit stuck at the moment. 2 years are just over 4%. 1 month ago, they were 4.1%, and 1 year ago, 4.48%. So actually, year on year, we have made massive inroads, almost 0.5% lower year on year. But month on month, actually, no real change. And very similar story for 5-year fixed rates as well. So as of last night, 5-year fixes were at 3.9%. 1 month ago, just over 4%, and 1 year ago, 3.9% as well. So it kind of feels like at the moment, there's no reason for swap rates to come down. It also doesn't feel like there's any reason for them to kind of shoot back up again. I mean, let's hope that that continues because we know what happens there. But at the moment, things are kind of just stuck. Are we expecting things to change in the short term? I mean, it really depends on many factors. There's inflation data due out shortly. We've got MPC next month. Obviously, there's lots going on in the world. We've got, Rachel Reeves and Donald Trump doing all sorts of things which are causing havoc with the markets as well. So, there could be some changes. But at the moment, actually, nothing's really changing. Now, the good news is that when nothing changes, while lenders' cost of funds doesn't actually change, what it does is it really kind of lends a sense of stability and calm to the lender's pricing. So what this enables them to do is say, well, okay, I think actually at the moment we're good, things aren't going to bounce around. So the little kind of buffer that we build into our pricing when things are quite volatile, the lenders will always add on a few basis points to cover them in a time of volatility, so that actually if rates do bounce around by a few basis points day to day, it doesn't actually make any difference to their mortgage pricing. But when things really settle down, they can kind of remove that buffer. So we might see lenders feel comfortable enough to be able to drop their rates down in the next couple of weeks. But we're going to be talking by like 0.05%, nothing life-changing. But I think that's probably what's on the cards next. Now, in terms of lender pricing changes, and just to kind of really echo the fact that this is what's happening, we haven't seen many changes. Actually, I've only really got two to tell you about. So first of all, Santander have reduced their rates by up to 0.3% and added a 65% loan-to-value product. Santander is a lender, very vanilla. We don't do a huge amount with them, not because they're awful, their service is really good, but they're just very, very vanilla lender. They don't like landlords with larger portfolios. Their pricing is always the kind of there or thereabouts, but it's never the best. And they've got some fairly kind of restrictive pieces of criteria in there. One of the things they're very good at, actually, incidentally, is unusual property types. So what some lenders will do is say, we'd accept certain property types for homeowner mortgages, and that range will be quite broad. But for buy-to-lets, we're going to make that list a bit smaller. Santander take the policy or position that actually, if they would lend on it as a homeowner for a homeowner mortgage, they'd also do it for a buy-to-let as well. So that's quite good. So can be a lender to think about if you've got a slightly quirky property. Now, in terms of them bringing in 65% loan-to-value products, this is a question we get asked about often. I thought it was just worth a mention. So we know that buy-to-let mortgages are available for up to 80% loan to value. And the pricing, the way lenders band their pricing is that an 80% product would cost more than a 75%, which could be more than a 70% product, and it works its way down. The pricing really stops changing. I mean, broadly in the market at 60% loan to value, there are a couple of lenders who have got 50 and 55% loan to value products. But broadly speaking, if you're in a position where you've got loads of cash, you're thinking about investing and you want to put in the amount of money that's going to get you the best interest rate, but not put in any more than that, then realistically probably 40% deposit is kind of where you're going to be looking. But just to reconfirm as well, buy-to-lets are available at 80% loan to value. The pricing does step up quite significantly between 75 and 80% loan to value. Yeah, so if those of you who are thinking about buying and just kind of thinking about the different loan to values, or indeed remortgaging, this can apply to you. That's what we're looking at. Now, the other pricing change we've seen this week is that the Leads have reduced their limited company rates by 0.4%. In terms of limited company lending, the Leads are a relatively new kid on the block. They've been doing this for a couple of years now. I think it took a while for their proposition to get going because their pricing was a little bit out of kilter to begin with. But now actually they are one of the most competitively priced limited company lenders. I would put them in the same territory as someone like the Mortgage Works. Now, their proposition, while being very keenly priced, is very, very straightforward, as is the Mortgage Works is. So they're looking for very simple companies. They're not lending on any racy properties. So it would be generally speaking, a Leads deal would be limited company owned by husband and wife, shareholders, husband and wife, directors, husband and wife, looking to refinance one of their 9 mortgage buy-to-let properties, which is a standard house, that kind of structure. Anything that's a bit more kind of racy, so layered companies, day one remortgages, unusual property sites, probably not going to be for Leads. But there you go. So actually 2 fairly significant lenders have made pricing reductions in the last week. And we will keep you following up next week with regards to any further changes. Now, something I think we've never actually covered off before on MFB News is people who are here on visas, and also foreign nationals actually who are offshore as well. So first of all, when people are in the UK on visas, you will find that unless you have permanent rights to reside or settled status if you're from the EU, it's going to be really hard for you to get a buy-to-let mortgage. Homeowner mortgages are quite different, okay? So there's much more appetite to lend to people who aren't here permanently. But in the buy-to-let space, generally speaking, unless you've got permanent rights to reside, the lenders are going to not be willing to lend to you. So the Hinckley and Rugby have actually introduced what they're calling a new visa buy-to-let mortgage range, which is bringing rates in from 5.79% for people who are here on certain types of visas. So what they've gone to say is that actually this is a new range that's designed to help skilled professionals, entrepreneurs and investors in simply acquiring buy-to-let properties. In addition, there is no minimum UK residency requirement, i.e. you don't have to have been in the UK for any set period of time beforehand. So often what you will find is that when, particularly in the homeowner space, if lenders have rules where they allow people who are here on visas, they would say that you have to have been in the UK for at least X number of years, first of all. And the reason they would want that is mainly to ensure that there is some sort of UK credit footprint so they can credit search you. Because when it comes to credit scoring, lenders cannot go overseas, so they can only credit search in the UK. So they're going to want to make sure that actually you didn't, leave Germany in bankrupt and then rock up to the UK and then get a mortgage the next day. They're going to want to make sure you build up a bit of a profile here. So look, in terms of the criteria behind this, what they're saying is they'll consider applicants that hold a Tier 1 working visa that has been renewed at least once on a repayment basis only, and up to a maximum of 75% loan to value. They're also able to do Tier 2 visas as long as it has at least 2 years outstanding on it. So there you go, Hinckley and Rugby doing something a bit different. We always love that. And for some people who are here on visas, actually that's going to be the difference between them being able to get started in their property investment journey or not. So well done, Hinckley and Rugby. Now, just to touch on foreign nationals in their entirety. So if you have someone who is a non-UK national living overseas, then actually there are a couple of lenders who are able to help them. Hampshire Trust Bank and Gatehouse Bank. Now, as you would imagine, the lenders are going to be particularly wary of where these applicants live. So there's going to be a list of countries that are acceptable, and there's going to be a list of countries which simply aren't acceptable. But actually, if you are someone who is not living in the UK, or you know someone who doesn't live in the UK, who's not a UK national, so therefore they're not an expat, essentially, and they're looking to invest in the UK, we can certainly help. The Mortgage Works, as I mentioned, has released the latest buy-to-let barometer, and it makes really interesting reading. Actually, there's a particular piece of data in there which I find quite counterintuitive, actually, given the kind of current horizon. So what they're saying is, first of all, that landlords are less positive about rental yields than they were a year ago. So 38% rated their prospects as good versus 6% in the previous quarter. So the percentage of landlords essentially who are feeling good about rental yields has come down by around 8%. Now, that in itself isn't so confusing. I think we all know that we've had a really good run of rents increasing. We also know that the market is starting to slow down, not to the point where it's going to turn negative, but those increases of 9-10% on yields each year is definitely going to slow down. So I can see that statistic making sense. The one that I'm slightly more surprised to see is that they're feeling more upbeat about the prospects for both capital gains and their letting business overall. So what that would tell us is that actually people are feeling more confident about property values going forwards, but also their lettings business. Now that's the one that surprises me, just because, and not because I don't think we should be confident as landlords in our lettings business, but just because there's so much kind of noise at the moment with regards to the Renters' Rights Bill, the EPC changes, all that kind of stuff. So great to hear that landlords are feeling more positive. Maybe people are just kind of going through a period of adjustment and acceptance, and actually now they're kind of rallied and thinking, okay, we can just deal with it and move on. But it's a good news there, but it's like I say, it's just maybe for me slightly counterintuitive. Okay, so look, this is the one that is kind of most worrying. So intended sales activity in the next year is now around 6 times the level of expected purchases. So essentially 41% of respondents plan to sell something and just 7% are looking to buy something. So that is not great news for the PRS at all. For those looking to purchase, 60% plan to utilise buy-to-let mortgage finance and 69% intend to buy within a limited company. 43% of leveraged landlords will remortgage or take a product transfer in the next year, with 18% doing so within a limited company. So we can see that there's still activity going on, but it looks like the biggest bit of activity that's being seen amongst the respondents is actually selling or offloading property, which I would say is just such a shame. Now, the percentage of respondents who have put their rents up in the last 12 months was 75%. This is the highest level for 4 years. With 24% of respondents not making any changes to their rents and just 1% decreasing their rents. So as we can see, actually, in the last 12 months, rents have gone up for the vast majority of landlords. And just incidentally, just to kind of give you a kind of marker here, the average yield for those landlords who responded to this survey across their portfolio was 6.4%. So actually really good yields. But actually still very much, unfortunately, seeing sentiment that landlords are still looking to offload some properties. And that's everything for this week. Like I said, a little short, sharp one. Hopefully we'll have lots more exciting news for you next time around. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, as always, we'd really love to hear from you. 0345 345 6788, or have a nosy around on our website where you will find absolutely loads of information. Enjoy the sunshine. Go out and plant some spring bulbs. It really does feel like we are over the worst of winter now and broken the back of it. You wait, it'll be snowing this time next week now I've said that. But I do genuinely hope you get out and get some good old vitamin D in the sunshine over the weekend. Look after yourselves. I'll see you next week.